Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Beyond Influence. I am Kwame Appiah, head of influencer engagement at Later, and I'm one of your hosts.
Hey everyone, Scott Sutton, excited for today's episode. Let's dive right in.
All right. So today we are very, very, very lucky to be joined by an actual bachelorette, which is one of the most highly esteemed, titles in today's society, if I'm going to be honest with you, because only 22 people in total have ever held this title. So we are very excited, but not just a bachelorette, someone who has gone on to take the platform that she has gained to do incredible things, to start a foundation, and is making sure she's powering through, letting her name be known and spread positivity everywhere. We have with us today, Michelle Young. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yes. I'd love to just start off with a nice week, softball. We just talked a little bit about your weekend. Let's jump into what are you up to this week? I know it's a holiday week. Any cool plans?
Yeah, Minnesota and 4th of July actually I think I read somewhere that Minnesota is like the number one place to celebrate 4th of July. I had no idea. I don't know if that's accurate, so please don't quote me on that. But we have a huge lake called Lake Minnetonka. Obviously, we're like the land of the lakes. And so we will be out on the lake doing water sports, hanging out with family, friends. My family usually chooses this week to go up to the cabin. So a lot of family time and just spending time together. And hopefully the weather holds out.
I love it. I love to, you mentioned your family. We were talking about this particular episode and just getting to talk to you. And one of the things that this whole show is about is, putting a spotlight on creators and putting a spotlight on the journey and, giving back. And I think through all the different parts of your journey, whether it's in athletics or it's being on TV or what you've done with your foundation and other work, it always resonated through how much you cared about people, how much you care about your family, your hometown. And just so great for, younger creators, young women looking up to you and the example that you provide. So really, really thrilled to get to dive in today and hear about your journey.
Well, this is a great start. That introduction, I love it. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But no, I've always just felt the most like myself anytime I was more focused on other people. So I think that's just kind of how I was raised to operate, and definitely try to continue that.
Awesome. So, we're going to dive into all the parts of your creator journey, but I think, just to do it justice, it does start somewhere. And so we'll touch on the Bachelorette just a little bit and a funny backstory. Minor. When I lived in Portland, I got a call from the casting team at the Bachelorette. And they said, hey, we had a friend put your name in, because, that's kind of how it works for a lot of people. And there's a Bachelorette coming up. Her name is Michelle Young. And so we're casting for her season.
That's so funny.
I know.
I don't know. They casted a lot of, they spread their arms or their wings pretty wide, because I've actually had a few people tell me that too. So
yeah, gotta love it. Gotta love how it all works out though, because at the end of the day, full circle moment, we're both here. I'd love to know how you got wrapped into, I guess The Bachelor and then The Bachelorette in general.
Yeah, I still don't know how I got wrapped in The Bachelor. I was emailed actually by one of the producers, and I thought it was spam at the beginning. Had no idea. Thought it was just like this fake thing. I watched the show, but I was never on social media really. I had started social media and maybe had 2 posts up. So they couldn't really, reach me there, but they just kept reaching out, and eventually I responded. Again, kind of almost as a joke, thinking that it was fake, and found out that it was real. They really expedited my process pretty quickly because they had closed casting, really wanted me to come on Matt James' season, and said no quite a few times. And then eventually COVID really started to progress, saw an opportunity for it, and ended up taking it.
That's awesome. And, going through that whole process, you said, you just had a couple of social media posts. What was it like, just this life-altering, getting thrown into the public eye, having all of you analyze your family, your relationship? How was that adjustment process for you?
I grew up in a huge sports world. And so as far as like getting critiqued and having tough skin with that, I definitely had that built in a little bit just because I had gone through the whole like Coach Carter experience to a T with several of my coaches, like break them down, build them back up. Water is for the weak. So, so I feel like once I got to that position, I really had a hold on whose opinion I valued and whose I did not. And that helped when it came to the social media Karens and, like the bullying and all of that stuff. When it comes to like the inner workings of social media and how much it becomes a part of your life, I think that's the piece that I really struggled with because I just wanted to connect with people. And when I got into it, the people who were around me and really teaching me the ways of social media and kind of showing me the ropes with it very much had made it about the analytics and you want growth and you want this and you want this. And I was still trying to figure out, wait, what do I want with my platform? Like, I know that there's certain routes that typical people in this position take, but what do I want out of it? What are the pieces that I want out of it? And so I think that's what I really struggled with is figuring out which pieces I was supposed to be doing and that learning curve and which pieces where I'm like, wait a second, I need to think with my own mind here and still make sure that it's my own and that I'm making the right moves for Michelle.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of progression there. It is a lot to get thrown into it. And then once it happens, you just get this massive spike. And it's like, how do I deal with all this instability in so many ways, right? In your life, in your social, there's a mental aspect of it.
Yeah.
What would you say is one thing that you learned, like the biggest thing that you've learned from it? And I know it's really hard always to just pinpoint one thing, but is there something that you've taken away in terms of like your experience that you think other people should know who encounter a situation like this?
The balance of it, it's okay to use your own judgment on what you post. And there's times where you see all these viral trends and there is this whole mental health piece behind it. And it's like this dopamine rush when you post something and it goes viral, or, you just come off the show and you have all of this love. But what I realized is that unfortunately, a lot of times when you're on these reality TV shows, that spotlight does go away. And I think a lot of people feel like their value goes away once that happens. And that's not the case. And that's a really hard adjustment. And that can be a really painful adjustment. And so understanding that it's not necessarily a reflection of you, and that what you add or the path that you take afterwards should be one that fulfills you and is meaningful to you because it's your life. You get to decide, you have to live in it. You get to decide what you want to post. You get to decide how often you show up. You get to decide what type of community you build, what you stand for, what you don't stand for. But that's a lot of that doesn't all come at one time. It's really painful. And I know that I went through this, not like identity crisis necessarily. And mine was more so like the teaching with the social media, but just to understand that it's going to ebb and flow. And during moments where you might not be getting as many likes or attention or whatever seems like this super important thing, you were the Bachelorette and now you're no longer the Bachelorette, does not mean you're less valuable. Truly doesn't, just because people are now focused on another Bachelorette.
I love that. I think we talk about the edit and how people are portrayed.
Yeah.
And, I think everyone saw such a great image of you and, fell in love with you. And it's interesting because while some people are trying to dig out of the hole of this bad edit, I think there's also this pressure that comes with having the good edit. And it's, I fall down, I make mistakes. I don't want to be this perfect, like always selfless person. And then there's this weird contradiction of like, I do want to engage with my audience. I want to grow my following, but does that self-serving? And then you're like questioning what are the right motives and all that, even for the best person. So I'm like, how did you fight that struggle? Did you feel that struggle? Was that something that you experienced?
Huge. And I think I'm coming out of still feeling that struggle just because I did go through this whole rebrand where I really tapped into more of like that motivational speaking and the education piece, but not in a teacher role. And like you said, I appreciate that you recognize that having this other edit, I'm also human and I'm going to make mistakes, but also there was one side of me that was shown, and I really felt like it was like the teaching side. And there were so many different sides of me than just teaching. And part of the reason why I got the role as a bachelorette was because of the bloopers from the other season, because there was, women are screaming at each other, everyone's crying, and I'm like over here, like just messing around, just not stressing about it. And that is a huge side of me, that lighthearted, goofy side, energetic side. And that side wasn't really shown in the show, where there's so many different funny moments, bloopers, and just behind the scenes stuff, or moments where it was a phenomenal, funny going back in conversation and be interrupted by producers. And so I think that was the piece that I really had to dig myself out of, because I stepped away from the classroom and I made that decision. And so now this teacher, Michelle's the teacher. Now it's like, well, wow, she's a failure. Like, what are you doing with your life? You're not teaching anymore. You have no value because you're not the thing that we thought you were. And why should I stick around to see what you're going to do? Because you're not going to do anything. And that is what I had to kind of like crawl and work my way out of. Frankly, those people who think that way, I'm like, you're not the people I want in my circle anyways. So don't let the door hit you on the way out. But that's that thing of there's so many more sides to the lead or to the people who go on these reality TV shows that are not shown, that people don't know, good and bad. And so that's that identity piece that I really struggled with. Is I chose to step away from the classroom. Now it's, Michelle's not the sweet teacher anymore. So like, now what?
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. I think so. I haven't really gone through it as much, but my wife has. When we both came out of the show, she had invested pretty much all of her life into being a pediatric speech pathologist, right? She loves kids. She wants to be around kids. She loves helping them kind of just grow this like gift of communication. It's such an important aspect of who she is. And when we stepped away from it, we stepped away because it gave us a significantly better quality of life. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's really weird because you do that thing to make your life a little bit better and you make yourself happier in the space that you're in. But then you start feeling these emotions of like, I invested so much of myself into this and I'm passionate about it and I care about it, not just because of me, but because of the people I'm helping out. And it's like, am I giving up who I am? And that is such an important thing for a lot of people who have one of these empowering roles, right? Because at the end of the day, educators really they move the world, right? They move the needle forward, they change the world. So it's such a big thing. So I'm glad that you're touching on it a lot. And I know that it's probably been a big transition for you since then. Going on as an educator, I guess I'd love to touch on what made you initially become an educator, right? What was that passion?
I think it was something that I was almost born with. And I always loved working with kids. It wasn't just like I liked kids, right? Like I lit up when I was around them. And I think that's something that my family pointed out to me, or just when it came to being like the middleman and communication. I never had things come super easy to me when I was going through school. And usually you would take like the person who, just gets math and, is the smartest person in the room and just knows how to do everything naturally. A lot of times the people who make the best teachers are actually the people who have to work for it because they understand how to explain it, and they had to take those steps themselves. And so I think in school, that's what really showed me that I'd be a good teacher. I had a teacher who pointed those things out. I always had phenomenal teachers. And so from very early on, I always knew that I would make a good teacher, had a passion for it. And I think it was high school when I actually got to do like a student teaching experience. That's when I was like, okay, this is definitely what I want to go to college for, and wanted to lead with that for sure.
I think that's such a powerful point. And it hit me like when you said it, just the people who have struggled are almost the best equipped because they understand the struggle. They understand the fight. And it's funny, like just, I don't know, a vulnerable moment, but like I struggled through a lot of things, just like how to navigate being a leader, how to navigate being super ambitious, but then also needing to work with folks. And it's funny because now I give advice. I'm like, I see the struggle that I like viscerally know what you're going through. And like, you have to know the advice I'm giving you. Like, if you do this, it'll be rewarding. And I think flipping it back on your journey, I think the people that do stick around, that are your advocates, you know, you can express what you have to give to the world in so many different ways. And just because you step away from the classroom doesn't mean that you're stepping away from kids. You're stepping away from being an educator. And so I'd love to get into like, how is that manifested post teaching? Like, how are you using those gifts and that love for people to like, you know, manifest in a new way?
Yeah, I think that the hardest part for me was that I am a people pleaser, and so I care about people and I want them to be happy. I want them to be proud about what they're doing. I want them to be proud of me. And so it was really hard to almost like fall from this platform that everybody, or pedestal that everyone put me on, of the teacher. And then, I stepped aside from that. But the hidden thing that was going on is that I didn't want to step aside. I had to step aside because of mental health. And so many teachers deal with that and get ridiculed and have all these harsh comments and opinions coming towards them that they're stepping aside from leading the youth. And it's like, if we were taken care of more, we wouldn't have to step aside. But I physically had to step aside. And so I realized that just because I wasn't in a physical classroom with my fifth graders or with elementary students doesn't mean that something else couldn't be my classroom. And so I took that aspect of it and I started changing my way that I thought about social media. So my platform could be my classroom, whether it's, inspiring through social media, the content I'm doing, motivational speaking, whether it's connecting with other women, whether, like all those different things is what I really started to lean into and feel more myself and get kind of like the teaching fix out of it, and that passion, and like tap into that passion. And that's what led me to really creating that impact movement of using my platform to help other nonprofits and other causes and movements, and to be able to give them that, visual piece of what they were doing and spread that message. And then was like, hey, like, why wouldn't I just create my own nonprofit too? And really lean into, the basketball side of it that I absolutely have always loved. And then the teaching side of it too, that is still really fresh in my brain and still really want to make some type of change with it. And so that's what put those two pieces together, of really realizing what I could do with it, learning more about social media and the reach I have, and also kind of going where like not a lot of other influencers have gone with it, with creating that piece. And I think that social media is great. It's really toxic at times too, but there's so many powerful things that can be done. And like right now, there's a huge negative connotation around influencers, like the word influencing. I think so many people cringe. I even cringe sometimes around it because it's like materialistic. And if influencing and social media can turn back to like causes, making positive movements, pushes forward, that right there, like positive influence, that's huge to me.
Yeah, I think you hit on two things that I want to touch on, like the creator versus influencer thing. I know it's really funny. Like we are a company, we're an entire organization that focuses on influencer management, right? And the funny thing about it is, like, sometimes we don't even like to use the word
No.
because of what it's become, like I feel like for a long time, the idea of an influencer, and it's like thrown around, if you see it on hashtags around, it's like influencers in the wild. And it's these people doing like, street dances and stuff.
Mm-hmm. But like the thing is like that's okay. Like that's what I also come around to it too, is that's okay. Like if who am I to judge if someone is videotaping themselves dancing in the street? Honestly, when I see that, I'm like, wow, I wish I had the guts to do that, because I still like look around before I take out my phone and like take a selfie or like video anything in public. But yeah, there's such a huge negative energy around it for like, some good reason, and some that's just kind of,
Yeah, I think it's like the transition of like that idea of influencing through generations, because I feel like, the current generation looks at it as like it's this cool iconic thing, and I feel like previous generations might look at it like it's kind of a joke, quote, you know what I mean? When in actuality, like anything that you do that generates any kind of attention nowadays, especially on social media, is something that can like you can make that your business. So I do think like we all need to start taking that a bit more seriously. We had Charlie DeMeo, or I think whatever, I can't really pronounce her name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who used to do like the same dance over and over for 30 days. And she's the most followed person, the most quote unquote influential person on TikTok. So
Yep.
people who do TikTok dances, they've got some ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So with that being said, I also wanted to kind of just touch on the educator piece. Right. And also like the foundation piece, as someone who, and you mentioned it, you said that's not really an area that most influencers tap into. Me personally, I would love to eventually get there. I think that it's an area that I want to head to. I try my best to dip my foot in as many different, foundations and as many different causes as I can, especially starting locally. Right. And so for creators who are looking to go towards maybe starting a foundation and doing something positive in that sense, what are the first steps? Like, how did you initiate and how did you go from there?
Really realizing that it's what you want to do, because it is a commitment. And I think it's a commitment when you come out of the spotlight world and the online world. Is a lot of people don't care, right? If you think about what's getting likes and what gets attention online, it's not these really like cool moments. It's not the nonprofits that are like the leading pages. It's not all these other things. It's like you said, like the materialistic things, or maybe the more superficial, like the gossip and the drama. And there is like, I mean, everyone I think likes gossip and drama to a certain, like it's interesting to a certain point, right? But understanding that this is what you want to do and that there are like-minded people like you that are interested in it, that are passionate about it, and that there's so much more outside of the social media game. And I think that's what I've had to really learn, and I'm still learning with it, because you do sit and look at your numbers, and you do sit and look at like what kind of content does well, and you want to make a living on it and all those different things, right? You want it to stay healthy and sustainable. But it is hard because it's like you can post nonprofit stuff and people don't seem to care as much. And so I think with me, I had to really understand, okay, at the end of the day, it's like my purpose. It's the lives that I've changed by, when I get to the end of the road, like what have I done? Okay. And for me, prioritize helping other people. And that's what's important to me. And so when my time is up, or, when I take a look, or if I pause and look back at what I've done, I'm looking at the things that I've impacted, that I've made a positive difference. That's what holds weight for me. And it's less of these other, superficial things that might have more likes. And honestly, that kind of doesn't really play out until you get a lot older, and that, time's almost up and you start rethinking your whole life. And hopefully I make that far. But, like that's, I think when you start, people have like the biggest regret of what they did with their time. And I don't think I will ever have, or won't allow myself to have that regret, because, maybe we'll have the most liked video on the internet, which is like chocolate covered strawberries, I'm pretty sure right now. But like, I don't know. Last time I checked. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Literally chocolate covered strawberries. Who would have thought? But I will have the most liked video, but I will have made a damn big impact on some people. And that's what I care about. And so it's kind of keeping that in the forefront of my mind. And I definitely have to remind myself, or have to have, my close family members or friends remind me. But it's hard. So you have to decide that you want to do it, and you have to have a good group of people around you who are going to remind you like why you're in the game. Because it's not the shiny and pretty and beautiful thing. It's the roll your sleeves up, dirty work, putting out fires, because you can lift other people up. It's not, you're not the one lifting, getting lifted up. That's not why you do it.
I love that. I think, a couple of things you hit on, which is just finding what is important to you and what you believe in. And it's funny because I think, a lot of us have thought about how can we give back? Where do we want to give back? And it's funny because, there's something that I do feel like people have this internal desire to help people, but they don't know where, or they don't feel like they can give back. And it's one of the things you said that hit me really hard was like, I just thought, why can't I start my own nonprofit? And that's like such a far away thought for so many people. But I think it's when you shift your mindset to believing that you can do something and you can generate an impact that's outsized. It's pretty incredible. The other thing that you talked about was, and I think it's a core theme, what you've been talking about, is taking the relationships, taking the community and the impact you have off of social media into real life. And so many times, almost every conversation we've had, we've asked like, what are some of your favorite moments? Like it's running into someone on the street. It's getting my super fans together and I feel like we're best friends. It's like the people who show up on my Twitch stream every single day. I know their name, they know me. Yeah. And we get in a room and it's like, we've known each other all along. And so I do think, one encouragement for creators is like, try to foster a real community and also don't be afraid to, take that community with you and engage in real life. And I love that you're doing that. I love that you're speaking. I love that you've done the foundation work and starting to build true community. It's excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a process, and it's now getting to the point where you can like see some of the benefits like things are starting to roll now. So it's cool because you're seeing the impact, but when you're sitting in all that paperwork, you're like, why am I doing this again?
You're like, I could be looking for a man in finance too. Like that could be fun.
I chose to help people. Yeah. I just think that there's, like you said, Scott, there's just, everyone has that piece inside of them where you feel good when you help other people. And no matter what type of profession or what type of life you're living, there's always room or space to do that, whether it's like paying it forward, paying for somebody's order, whether it's holding a door. If you don't have that capacity to pay for something, like it's not always donating mass amounts of money. There's so many other ways to do it. And that's kind of my piece, is showing the people who kind of come across my page and see what I'm doing is you don't have to sit and start a nonprofit. You can just choose to serve and like give back to other people. And it goes such a long way. Have you guys heard of this app? This is the ADHD kicking in. But have you heard of this app? I need to put you on this app because I just had my first call and it's actually life-changing. And it's I'm going to jump on real quick because I want to see I have to give you the name of this. You can help people who are like, who are blind, who are struggling like with like their vision, impaired vision, and you can talk them through what they're seeing. So like there's this huge app that you apply to be on, and you'll get a call. And like I will step out of a meeting. I won't step off this podcast, don't worry. But like I'll step out take this because you'll only get like 1 or 2 a year and you get to help that person through something. It's such a simple task, but like the gratification that you get after just helping somebody random is so, so big. And I got on this thread. It's not a Reddit thread, but I got on, it's called, there we go. It's called Be My Eyes. And you literally just have the app on your phone. If you have the app on your phone and you sign up for it, you'll get a random notification and you can click into it. You have to click into it really fast because there's like millions of people who are on this app and everyone's like wants to be the one to help whoever, but you can help them, like guide them through something. So it might be like actually like untag a knot. It might be trying to sort out like the red sweater versus the black sweater. Like it can be some simple task. It can be, a longer task, but after I got done helping, and I was just actually picking out an outfit for a really important interview. And after I got done helping, like I felt so good. And I was having a really hard day and a really hard week. And I just it put everything in perspective. And it was so, so, so cool. It's called Be My Eyes, but it was just amazing. Yeah. It was like, that's what really kind of reset me back on track of like, okay, I feel so much more myself when I help other people. And I picked out somebody's outfit for an interview. Like, I didn't donate $10,000, I didn't, whatever. Like it was so, so, so small and it was so big. Yeah. And this app has changed so many people's lives. It's crazy.
It is funny. Like it resonated so much. Like the times that I've helped someone or given a few bucks, like someone at the grocery store, oh, we got to go put that back. And you're like, you're not going to put that back. Just like, It's
Yeah.
$10. Like, we got it. Like, it's okay. Like, it was funny. I was with my kids. I was telling Kwame I was at this like Sky Zone jump park.
Oh
Some
yeah.
kid he actually made it up the warp wall. He's like a 10-year-old. He got stuck on top. And I
Wow.
was like, I felt like a superhero because like helped him down. And it was like, I didn't do anything. I just like walked up and I'm like held
Yeah.
him down. But it was like just a little moment, like this kid's like losing his mind, afraid. And you're like just doing little things like that. It's funny because like, you can go write a big check, but it's like little moments where you see the interaction, like you see in their eyes how meaningful it was to do,
Yeah.
to help them out. I love that. I think it's interesting. So, so much of what you're doing is giving back. And you talked a little bit about kind of the financial, the brand side of social media. Have you gone into that side? Have you done brand deals? Like, how do you manage the balance between the brand deal side and that dynamic with also wanting to build community, wanting to give back? I'm curious how you've kind of balanced that for yourself.
Yeah, I kind of see it as you have to make a living. Okay, so in order for me to be able to keep a nonprofit, well, not to keep it running, but in order to start a nonprofit, you're usually, as like the founder of it, you're putting like 50 to 150K in yourself to like get it up and running. And like a lot of times you can raise that. And so I definitely was able to raise a good portion of that, but it's still like a lot of your own money going into it. So you have to make a living and you have to have that piece of it. And so for me, like I have done a decent amount of brand deals, or I have worked with brands. And a lot of times I just had a fundraising dinner. I challenge the brands to donate a piece of that to the nonprofit. And so the brands who collaborate with me are aware that I'm doing this. I'm on this mission I have this nonprofit. And a lot of times they're donating products as like fundraising items. I had a lot of brands that I worked with donate a ton of different products so that we could put it into all these bags that we are giving to like large fundraisers or auctioning off. And so there is really a huge balance with that. And it's also like I make sure that I only do brand deals that align with me and also align with the nonprofit as well, because I'm working with children here. So, like there's certain products, there's certain brands that I'm like, wouldn't do very good or be a very good look if I were to work with you. And so it's just really being mindful of that, but also understanding that, I don't know, you have to make a living, but yeah, it's a weird balance, but I will never rep a brand or like support a brand that I haven't tried. And so I'm not like one of those people who they'll send me a product. Hey, we want to give you this much money. And we need the content by the end of the week. I'm like, if I haven't used the skin product for like 2 weeks and know how my skin responds to it, I can't just like sit and shout you out because I don't know how it works. So there are times where I have turned down, it's been painful to turn down like certain paychecks and a certain amount of figures, but it keeps me aligned with who I am. And at the end of the day, I would never give that up for anything because it's really hard to maintain that. And it's really easy to lose that. So I hold on to it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good way to think about things. And as you're going through and having your selective moments with brands, what would you say has been your favorite brand? Or do you have a few favorite brands or deals that you've done?
Yeah, I have a few. I really like the experiences. Just because I love makeup, I love fashion, I love all of that. I do have a huge passion for that. But right now, it's been like the experiences. So I worked with a brand called Sonder, and it's similar to an Airbnb, but it really just cuts down the costs. Like, how when you go and like select an Airbnb, I'm not trying to trash Airbnb, but you like have like all the massive tax that comes in, and all of a sudden like your price triples. And so with Sonder, they have places all over the world. So I was able to travel Italy, like all through Europe, with one of my girlfriends, and they put us up, and it was just a really cool experience because I was able to meet so many people. I did a cooking class in Venice, where I did a brand deal, and that was really cool because again, like we're cooking in a completely different country. It takes a pause of being able to like step away from yourself, learn about a different culture. And those are the things that I really remember and that I don't know, just like create the best memories because it's an experience. So anything where I get to travel and do all those things.
I'm glad you say Sonder, by the way, because we run all their influencer program. They're a customer of ours,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, so we
Hey.
manage their influencer program. So it's
Oh,
good to hear that they're treating you right,
that's
and it's
awesome. And
great to work
honestly, I
with.
didn't know
So
that. I promise you. I had no
we
idea.
didn't plant this for sure. We
We
didn't
did not
plant
stop playing. I really
it.
did not. No, I thought about that question long and hard. But yeah, it's been really cool to just work with them, and it's been
That's
awesome to
awesome.
see the
That's
world.
great to hear. So we always ask this question too. If you could have any one aspirational brand that you said, if they reached out, this would be an amazing day to do a collaboration with them. What's that one brand for you?
I feel like it changes so often just because everything changes and you learn more and more about brands as things, the longer that they're on social media. But I would say it's been pretty cool to watch Fenty and Rihanna and just everything she's doing when it just comes to inclusion, finally having, makeup that matches certain skin tones and just really kind of overcoming that type of barrier. Just everything, just showing women that they can do it, that women are beautiful, that especially, darker toned women, complexion are men and women are beautiful. And they just have been doing it in such a graceful way. So I think the message behind that brand has been really powerful. And I think has come into its own just even over like the last year. It's been cool to watch.
I love that. I think Tiffany Penny was
Yeah.
her brand was Fenty too.
Fenty, yeah, just
Yeah,
so many cool things, and just how Rihanna just handles influencers that work with her, and you kind of just catch videos. And I actually met her when I was at one of her events, right when I got off the show, and she like knew me by name, and she just takes time to get to know people, and I really appreciate that with somebody who's of that magnitude and has had that level of success, and that shows a lot.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that is super cool. I mean, we hear the brand pretty often, so it means they're doing something right.
Something.
I honestly think, yeah, I think we should just start clipping everyone saying Fenty and send it over to Rihanna.
Yeah.
So, like with the brands that you've gotten to work with, have you established the creative process in your head yet, or like how does that work out for you?
It's ever changing because I think the market is ever changing. And I mean, we all like roll our eyes at the word algorithm. The algorithm is changing. The algorithm has changed. Like, right? By the time you kind of figure it out, it's already changing. But I think have always been very creative, and I've been more so into like painting and all that kind of stuff, but I've really been able to lean into like video creation and kind of playing around with a lot of different things. And so I definitely have come into my own with being able to just how I can edit over like the in-depth things. And I didn't go to school for content creation, didn't go to school for video editing, but I feel like I do a pretty damn good job. Been told that, have gotten that feedback. And so I feel like I'm never short of ideas, and I lean with it, and I like to take risks with it. And it's been nice to have brands that trust me to do that. And it's been, paying off. So really just like being okay with being creative. Like content creation is creative, and you don't always have to just do what everyone else is doing. You can be the first one to do something different. And I've been able to open some brands' eyes with that. And it's been cool to see them grow from it and just get the positive feedback from it. So
Nice. Do you know Justin Glaze by any chance? He's in the Bachelorette universe.
yeah, yep. Him and
Yeah.
Susie. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They are, and I still have to get him on this podcast at some point because it's funny. I know he was on The Bachelorette, but like where I really remember him is just purely from his content. His content is so funny and engaging and so him that it's just like it almost feels like I don't know. I always say like I wish they both land a spot on a soap opera because it's incredible how artistic their stuff is.
They are fun when they put their minds together, and he's got the facial expressions. Like, you can't teach that. You can't teach that. He's got the facial expressions for it all. So yeah, it's been cool to see his creative side, and I do follow him and Susie. It's been cool to see what they do. And I will say that when you're scrolling, you won't even like recognize that it's an ad. And I love that. And I think that there's a lot of content creators that want to do that. But if you get a brand deal and you have like all these things that you have to hit, a lot of times people don't want to take that risk to like let people lean into the trends or lean into different like creative sides. So it really takes like both sides taking that risk together with it, so that it's not just this bland step by step. Because I've also been in positions where you have to, we want this, we want this. It's like really cut and dry and there's no wiggle room. That's hard.
It's a great lesson to the brands out there. Let the creators have some creative control. Like they know their audience, they know what's gonna hit.
Exactly.
And then you can review it. If it's not gonna land or there's some issue with it, go back and work on it again.
Right. Absolutely. And like that's the stuff that gets traction anyways. The stuff that's just so organic or just authentic. I feel like those words are so overused, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, they come off cliche, but in actuality, they really are like the most important things.
Right. They really are.
Yeah.
It's not got to feel like an ad and have a little fun with it. So.
Exactly. So as we get closer to kind of wrapping this up, there's a couple of questions that, we want to make sure that we touch on with creators and one of those is if you could look back and tell yourself anything from the beginning of your journey, right? That, based on what you know now, is there something that you would correct or change about how you did everything?
Yeah, definitely. Turn your brain off. Just post it. I think I overthought so much content that I just didn't post. And I was just trying to sit and like perfect it. And I should have just posted it. Just post it. I still struggle with that. Like, I don't know how many things are sitting in my drafts right now, but just post it because I think the people who are going to be unhappy with it are going to be unhappy with it. Obviously don't post anything that's, taking down groups of people or, hurting other people or things like that. Like think before you post, but don't really second guess yourself too much when, should I post this? Or I really want to, post this thought on this. Just do it. Like give it a shot. And I think there's always going to be people who are going to laugh at you, back from high school who are going to make fun of what you're doing. You're chasing after your dreams and whatever it is. But like, there's going to be people talking either way. So just go.
Yeah. I think staying on that, it's like, I've had experiences where, when I would give myself almost the exact same advice. And it's funny because it is something that's pretty often come up with creators. When I first started, I wanted before I was in the public eye, I loved the way that my grid looked because I'm a photographer. I love creativity. And I'm just like, I want it to look like this curated piece of art, And then when I became a creator, I'd have some brand deals or brand opportunities. And I'd be like, well, I don't know if I can post that often or post this style because I'm like, I don't know. It goes against my grain. So for the first year and a half that I was a creator, I was basically solely in my stories. Like I barely posted on my grid. Because I was so hesitant. I was like, man, it's going to mess up what I've kind of been working for in this outlook. But then later on, as time went on, I realized like, sometimes some things will hit, sometimes some things will miss. And one thing doesn't necessarily stunt the other. I remember having a post that had 220 likes or something 2 weeks ago. And then the very next day, I posted a reel that got 3 million views. Right. It was just like that one hit, so just go with it, see what happens.
Yeah. And not everything's going to go viral.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so funny because the only person who cares about a post not performing is you.
I need that on recording. I need to write that on my bathroom mirror.
I'm not going through your feed and analyzing your views on some reel or story that disappeared. The one that went viral, we'll see it. We're like, oh man, that thing has 5 million views. That's crazy. That's amazing. But no one's out there Michelle really dropped the ball on the story. Only has 27,000 views. What a failure.
Right? That's so true. I have thought about that often because it's we are all thinking about our own stuff and our own anxieties and stressors. So of course you're not thinking about what I'm doing because you're thinking about what you're doing. It's just some people should be thinking about what they're doing more, and less about us too. Yeah, just post it. Just post it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then one last question for you, from me at least, is what's next? What's on the horizon for Michelle?
We're really looking to scale with the nonprofits, the Michelle Young Foundation. We ran a pilot program and it went phenomenal. We got amazing feedback. And so we're in this huge fundraising push right now to be able to open up more programs across Minnesota. And then we're also in LA and we're looking to open up throughout the US. So we'll be kind of applying licenses and different things like that, getting that up and ready. And then really just leaning into motivational content and leaning into that balance piece, because I have gotten to this work mode, and remembering to take time to take a pause and enjoy it, because I've just been really on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. Never short of goals that I want to accomplish, but life is really in between achieving those. And so pumping the brakes a little bit and enjoying time with just family, friends, accomplishments that have already happened. And I think that's where the creativity comes to. So
We love it. It's so great to see people like you be successful. You have such a genuine heart, a genuine care for people. And it's awesome to see you engaging with your community, engaging with Minnesota and like your fans, and giving back in a new way. And, it's funny because the whole journey randomly started out in trying to find kind of love and relationship and who you are in the future.
mm-hmm.
And somehow through all of this, you found love in a different way. You found success. You found what you were called to do. And I love that for you. And so, we'll be huge champions of you. Can't wait to see what you do with the foundation. There's definitely a lot out there for you.
Thank you so much. And this has been one of my favorite podcast conversations, just with the genuine nature of you both too. So I appreciate the attention and the depth on just things that matter. So thank you.
For sure. With that being said, thank you everyone today for tuning in. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being with us. This was definitely one of the deepest and I'll say most enriching conversations that we've had. So we appreciate you again for stopping by. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We will see you next week on Beyond Influence. Bye-bye.
Yep.